There was a comment on Twitter about pedal loop interventions, and I thought I'd kind of bring it up and kind of talk about it because it's pretty important. It's and the comment was pedal loop interventions are overrated and abused. I've seen more trashed feet than happy endings when inexperienced operators decide everyone needs a loopoplasty. It's a pretty strong comment, but there's definitely a lot of truth in there. I just thought you kind of comment about it. I mean, some of our listeners here may have not tried a pedal loop. Does that mean they shouldn't do it, or how should they approach trying to do a pedal loop if the patient needs it?
Yeah, I think we've learned this over the years. Twitter's great and Twitter is horrible, and social media in general. I mean, I think the downside is that it becomes a voice box for people to speak how they would never speak to you in person. That's a very strong statement, but it's actually pretty apt for a lot of cases. We see a lot of people doing things that they probably shouldn't do, but that doesn't mean they should never do it. They just don't know maybe how to do it or have the experience or asking for help. I think what we're seeing is a lot of people playing in that space below the ankle without much experience or backup or a second person to, hey, what do you think about this? Is this worth it? Because, with experience, you learn and you get that spidey sense of this isn't going to be a good idea. But you have a lot of people who get a wire cross and the excitement goes, oh, I'm going to hit that now.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you need that pedal loop, the plantar arch, for all cases? I don't think so. I think it depends on what your goal is. You need to have a goal before you start that case. What's my endpoint here? If you're doing the loop for the loop because you think that's the end all be all, then you should stop because you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need the loop if you have already established direct flow and it's not working, or if it's a digit ulcer, the loop definitely in my mind helps because if you get a loop, you're increasing the digital perfusers that you're going to get from the loop. Whether you're creating a loop from an intact loop or if you're creating even half a loop from the anterior tib or posterior tib, you're going to increase the flow through those digital perfusers if you're talking about a toe wound. But doing it for all comers, if you have a heel wound, I don't know if that loop is going to be your primary goal if you have a PT you can target.
Yep.
So it really depends on what you're dealing with. So if you have a PT or a perineal that you can get inline flow as much as possible, or small reports have shown that even a perineal that's in line with good perfusion can be sufficient for wound healing and rest pain. So of course, if you already have that, but you need another vessel, it's a different story. If you've done a PT intervention and it's still not staying open, then the loop may help you because you need some of that outflow to come around.
Totally.
If you just create the loop unnecessarily, it may not help. You might get competitive flow from the AT now, so it really depends on where your wound is. So I do agree that it's being overdone. I disagree with how aggressively that statement may sound.
Yeah.
But I think that comes with education and learning to ask each other for advice and help. And, we have such a big network around the world now, and people should feel free to ask for help and ask ideas and ask suggestions. And doing this in a vacuum is dangerous to the patient. So I think
Agreed.
there's part of that statement that's very true.
Yeah.
Part of it is just because of a lack of understanding.